Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation. Good morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You're watching World DNA with me, Raisha Sehgal. On the show today, recent polls suggest that Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris has widened her lead over Republican nominee Donald Trump, further suggesting a tight race in major swing states. Well, that's the top focus on World DNA. But first, a quick check on the headlines. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky dismisses Ukraine's Air Force commander Mykola Oleshchuk a day after Ukrainian military reports of an F-16 fighter jet crash while repelling a major Russian strike. An Israeli airstrike on an aid convoy carrying food and fuel to a Gaza hospital killed 4 Palestinians. Israel claims they were armed assailants. US-based aid group denies it. Israeli Prime Minister reportedly tells Defense Minister Yoav Gallant that he is prioritizing troops in Philadelphia corridor over hostages in Gaza. In a heated security cabinet meeting, Gallant fumes at Netanyahu for bringing vote to approve map of troops deployment at the corridor. United Kingdom Maritime Agency informs of 2 missiles exploding in close proximity to a vessel east of Yemen's Aden. The vessel's crew is safe and they're proceeding to the next port of call.
Kamala Harris, did you see her? Did you see her last night? Did you see her last night? I don't know.
In a rally and battleground state of Pennsylvania, Donald Trump slams Kamala Harris's interview with CNN, says he does not think she'll be able to handle Chinese President Xi Jinping. Brazilian Supreme Court Justice orders suspension of Elon Musk's social media giant X in Brazil after the tech billionaire refuses to name a legal representative in the country for the app. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to visit Brunei and Singapore in the first week of September. First bilateral visit by any Indian PM to Brunei begins on September 3rd, followed by trip to Singapore. While number 3, Coco Gauff, stays the course in her title defense, the American shakes off a slow start to defeat Elena Svitolina 3-6, 6-3, 6-3 and book a spot in the round of 16.
But this could be a significant victory. We can see what it means.
Well, our top focus on World DNA is the race to power in the US. As US elections inch closer, popularity polls are revealing a clear trend for both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. The latest Reuters Ipsos poll puts the Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris in a comfortable spot with Latin and women voters. The poll also shows Harris gaining support among women and Hispanics, leading Trump by 49% to 36%, marking a significant 13% lead. Trump, on the other hand, has maintained a lead among white voters and men, both by margins consistent with the July polls. While Harris may be riding on popularity wave, the vice president still has her work cut out for her, especially in the 7 states where the 2020 election was closest. That is Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, Michigan, and Nevada. Trump has a narrow lead of 45% compared to Kamala Harris's 43% in these battleground states. Well, according to a recent New York Times survey, Harris is receiving more support from younger, non-white and female voters, further suggesting a shift in Democrats' favor since Harris's entrance into the race last month. Some 73% of Democrats registered voters in the Reuters poll said that they were more excited about voting in November after Harris entered the race, while 52% of Harris voters were voting to support her as a contestant rather than primarily to oppose Trump. Well, for more on this, we're now being joined by James Adams. He is a professor of political science at the University of California at Davis, and he's joining us live from California. Welcome to World DNA. I want to first start by asking you that, how do you assess Harris's interview debut with CNN, which just took place yesterday, where she outlined her policies, and how the debut interview impacts her popularity, and if she was able to convince the undecided voters now that the latest poll numbers suggest that Harris has surged past Trump?
Well, I think that this was a successful interview for Vice President Harris, as she appeared poised, confident, and likable. She didn't make any major mistakes. So to the extent that this interview was a major test for her, I think she passed the test. And I think that the way that she presented herself will probably be appealing to many undecided voters. So my guess is that today Vice President Harris is very happy with the way that the interview went last night, and that her campaign is also very happy with it.
Mr. Adams, you do speak of how the CNN interview of Harris was a success. Now, the numbers reveal 49% for Harris and around 36% for Trump, which is a major 13% lead for Harris here. Just want to seek your assessment further that it's not like Trump's numbers have gone down, but it rather shows growing support for Harris since Biden dropped out of the race. Do you see this as Democratic-leaning voters coming back home after Biden got out of the race?
I do think that that is a major element to the Harris surge. There were a substantial number of Democratic voters who, frankly, were just demoralized. They felt that President Biden wasn't necessarily up to the job, and that he certainly wasn't an effective face of the Democratic Party. So I think there was a tremendous sense of relief and excitement when Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, became the Democratic Party nominee. So I think that's correct. I think a large part of it is Democrats returning to the fold. Another smaller part of it, but still an important part, are some undecided voters now shifting from undecided to supporting Kamala Harris.
Right, Mr. Adams, is also important to discuss how the Republican camp perhaps will be preparing for shaping up its campaign with Harris maintaining the lead. And we've been hearing Trump saying that he does not see Harris as a leader or perhaps facing the Chinese President Xi Jinping.
Yes. One of the key questions over the next 3 months is how Donald Trump and the Trump campaign is going to attack Vice President Harris. Now, one point I should make here on behalf of me and all other election experts is that it's absolutely impossible to predict what former President Trump will do next. To a greater extent than any other major politician in my lifetime, former President Trump tends to trust his own instincts and to ignore the advice of his campaign advisors. That has largely served him well, I think, because Donald Trump understands the basis of his appeal, which is a very unusual appeal, better than most others do. So as to how Donald Trump and the Republican Party will attack Vice President Harris, it's impossible to predict that with any certainty. I will say this. If the election turns out to be about the state of the economy and immigration and whether voters feel that the country is on the right track or the wrong track, those factors are likely to help Donald Trump. If, on the other hand, the election turns on people's sense about which candidate has a greater command of the issues, which candidate is more likable, or the issue of abortion, those issues are likely to benefit Kamala Harris. So in a logical universe, one would expect that a former President Trump would talk a great deal about the economy and about immigration and about the sense that America is on the wrong track. As I've mentioned, however, Donald Trump is very unpredictable about exactly what he will do. So while his experts are likely advising him to use the strategy that I've just outlined, I wouldn't bet anything that I'm afraid to lose that is the way that President Trump will actually attack Vice President Harris during the next 7 weeks.
Mr. Adams, do speak of the policies outlined by Ms. Harris. Now, one of the pertinent questions amongst the Americans is how her policy positions are right now this year compared to a brief run for the White House in 2020, especially on immigration, economy, and on the issue of fracking. Because during the CNN interview, which took place yesterday, she said that her values have not changed. What's your assessment of that? And how are the American voters perceiving this changed stance of Kamala Harris?
Yeah. And I mentioned in an earlier answer that this was a successful interview for Kamala Harris. The one qualification I would make there is that her answers were not very crisp. when she was explaining her evolving positions on issues such as fracking and immigration. So she wasn't completely clear and completely convincing. It seemed to me, when she was explaining how or why her positions has evolved. She fell back on this point about how her values haven't changed, even as her positions have changed. So those answers were not perfect. On the other hand, I should mention this. This was Vice President Harris's first major interview as the Democratic presidential candidate, presidential nominee. Normally at this stage of the race, a party's presidential nominee will have had dozens or hundreds of interviews. And so for that reason, while Vice President Harris's answers about these questions were not terribly clear, it was only her first interview answering these questions on a national stage. I expect that she will provide crisper answers going forward. I should also mention that this issue about a candidate's positions evolving is one that all politicians confront. Indeed, just today, former President Trump has been confronting some difficulty over his position on abortion. There is a proposition on the Florida ballot that has to do with the length of time or the term when it will be legal for a woman to get an abortion. Former President Trump made some statements yesterday that indicated that he was going to take one position on this proposition, but now today he's backtracked and indicated he's going to take a different position. So this issue about candidates' positions evolving is one that both Vice President Harris and former President Trump are likely to confront.
Right, Mr. Adams, thank you so much for joining us in World DNA with your insights.
Thank you.
Well, shifting focus to West Asia now, 3 Hamas militants were killed in an Israeli airstrike as they pressed a major operation in the occupied West Bank for a third day. The Israeli military said it killed Wasim Hazim, who is the head of Hamas militant group in Jenin, and also 2 other gunmen from the Palestinian group. We're talking about Misa Mishkara and Arafat Ahmed in the operation. 20 Palestinians have been killed since Wednesday, of which 13 are fighters of Hamas and the Islamic Jihad. This is according to the Palestinian groups. Meanwhile, the escalation in hostilities in the West Bank takes place as fighting between Israel and Hamas rages in the Gaza Strip. A US-based aid group said an Israeli strike killed 4 accompanying its convoy. The group identified the dead as 4 community members with experience in previous missions and engagement in community security, noting that they were not its staff. However, a statement from the Israeli military, which did not give a death toll, said that the strike occurred after a number of assailants seized control of the vehicle. The latest ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas, it failed to yield any kind of a result, and the point of contention was the Israeli demand to retain control of the Philadelphia corridor. Now, Channel 12 leaked quotes from the recent Israeli cabinet meeting, wherein Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant fumed at the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for bringing a vote to approve a series of maps drawn up by the IDF showing its troops deployed in the Philadelphia corridor. Well, Gallant said, and I'm quoting, "You're deciding to stay in the Philadelphia corridor. Is this logical to you? There are living hostages there," unquote. Well, responding to the leaked quotes, the families of the hostages demanded that Netanyahu should publicly declare that he has given up the lives of hostages for the sake of a continued IDF deployment on the corridor. Well, from one war front to another, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has dismissed the country's Air Force commander, and the dismissal of Mykola Oleshchuk was announced just a day after the Ukrainian military reported that an F-16 fighter jet crashed and its pilot died while repelling a major Russian strike. Zelensky also said in his evening address that he is grateful to all military pilots He did not give a reason for dismissal but mentioned that personnel must be protected and that there was a need to strengthen the command level. Former Commander Oleschuk had earlier said this week that partners from the US were helping to probe the incident. Well, this comes at a time when Ukrainian troops are grappling with renewed Russian assault on the battleground. On Friday itself, a Russian-guided bomb attacked the northeastern city of Kharkiv. It hit a residential building and a playground, killing 7 people and injuring at least 77. A 14-year-old girl was among the dead.
Це всі цивільні об'єкти. Плюс парки на бульварі Юр'єва, пряме влучання в парк. В цей час там знаходились діти, влучання в дитячу площадку. Там загинула дитина, попередньо дівчинка віком 13-14 років.
The attack has left major regions of the residential apartment on fire and nearby vehicles ablaze. Well, one end of the block was seen engulfed in black smoke with many of the upper floors in flames. Emergency services and rescue volunteers rushed to carry the survivors out of the building. Ukrainian officials have said that the attack involved 5 aerial guided bombs launched from planes in Russia's Belgorod region. Well, on the same day, it also saw Ukrainian shelling of the Belgorod region. According to the regional governor, Ukrainian rockets hit Belgorod and its surrounding areas late on Friday, killing 5 people and injuring at least 37. Released footage showed a building on fire, while another building appeared to have a hole in the ceiling and shattered windows. Remember, the region borders northern Ukraine and it regularly suffers drone or artillery attacks. Meanwhile, European Union defense ministers have agreed that their training of Ukrainian forces should take place as close as possible to the war-torn country, but not on the Ukrainian territory. Speaking after a meeting of the ministers in Brussels, EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said that they had agreed that the training mission should aim to train 75,000 Ukrainian troops by the end of the year.
On our military assistance missions, the WION, allow me to say that it has been a success, a great success. It's the most successful training mission that the European Union has ever performed. It has trained 60,000 soldiers. And today the ministers agreed on raising the purpose, the target, to 75,000, adding 15,000 more by the end of the year.
And India has said that it is willing to play a constructive role in restoring peace between Russia and Ukraine, but it is up to the two warring countries to decide when and how to commence peace talks. There has been widespread speculation about a possible mediating role after Prime Minister Modi's visit to Moscow in July and to Kiev, which just wrapped up last week. Well, Avani Likhara has scripted history for Indian sports at the Paris Paralympics. The 22-year-old has begun India's medal rush at the Games by shooting down a gold in the women's air rifle. Overall, India bagged 4 medals on the second day of the Paralympic Games, with 2 more medals coming in shooting, while the 4th one in athletics. Likhara had won gold in this event at the Tokyo Games in 2021, and she qualified in second place for the 8th women final with a score of 625.8. Compatriot Mona Agarwal also qualified for the final at the Chateauroux shooting range. Ukraine's Iranesh Chitnek qualified in first place but finished 4th eventually. Likhara, Agarwal and Korea's Yeonri Lee battled each other for the gold, with all 3 exchanging the lead in the final. Agarwal settled for bronze, and with one shot to go, Lekhara was in silver medal place. But the Korean then choked and shot a 6.8 on a final shot, with Lekhara registering a 10.5 to take gold. Her total of 249.7 bettered her own record from the Tokyo Games. She is the first Indian to win back-to-back gold medals at either the Olympics or Paralympic Games. India's third medal came in the athletics range as Preeti Pal won a bronze medal in the women's T35 100-meter event with a personal best time of 14.21 seconds. She is the first Indian to win a Paralympic medal in a track event. Chana Zozia and Gua Chen Kian won the gold and silver respectively. Capping off a successful day at the Paris Games, Manish Narwal followed up his Tokyo Paralympics gold medal in mixed 50-meter pistol with a silver in the 10-meter air pistol event. Narwal was consistently in the run for the top podium, but he somehow lost momentum in his final 6 shots. He shot above 10 only once, scoring 10.1 and had scores of 8.9 and 9.9 in the all-important gold shootout. Well, with that, we call it a wrap. Thanks very much for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One. Stay tuned.
On Wings this week, a unique spot in Rajasthan's desert that provides a sustainable respite from the heat. We also highlight how foreign tourist arrivals to India is at the highest levels since the pandemic. North Korea, a unique destination, might open for tourism again in December. Can it become the ultimate adventure? Watch Wings this weekend on WION. World is One.
This week on World at War, an F-16 fighter crashes in the battlefields of Ukraine as speculation grows on whether it was a pilot error, a technical snag, or Russian fire that brought down the much-touted American fighter jet. Israel escalates its raids deep into the Palestinian territory of occupied West Bank, targeting the cities of Jenin, Nablus, Tulkarm and Tubas in a flare-up that has been described as the worst since the Second Intifada. More than 100 people have been killed in different parts of Pakistan in a spate of attacks by the Balochistan Liberation Army as the Shehbaz Sharif government struggles to contain the Baloch insurgency. While more than 200 people are reported to have been killed in a terror attack in Burkina Faso as the Burkinabe forces steadily lose control of territory to the Islamist insurgent groups. We take you to the heart of the world's biggest war zones and answer the why question behind every smouldering conflict. World at War, at these times, only on WION.
Famine hit Sudan as peace talks fall short yet again. US brokered truce talks collapse after mediators failed to convince the military to come to the negotiation table. South Africa is committed to strengthening bilateral trade and investment with India, says its trade minister, amid launch of the India-South Africa Chamber of Commerce. And one of the success stories of world cricket, Namibia, a country with a population of just 2.6 million with limited facilities and only 9 cricket grounds. That's this week on World of Africa at these times on WION.
This week on the West Asia Post. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar hold the key to a ceasefire in Gaza. But what does a truce in Gaza mean for either of them? after Hezbollah and Israeli forces exchange deadly fire. What is happening in Lebanon? WION gets you the ground reality. Also on the show, Iran has opened its doors for nuclear talks with the US. Washington believes Tehran is postured to launch an attack on Israeli territory. Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, only on WION. World is One.
Namaste. Hello, friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
This week on Take It Out, we tell you about a new scam that can steal your money. We explain how you can prevent chatbots from collecting your data. And we show you how AI is revolutionizing pet care. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
Welcome back. Thanks very much for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One with me, Raisha Sehgal. There's lots lined up on the show, but first a quick check on the headlines. "15 ISIS operatives killed in joint operation by American and Iraqi forces in western Iraq." ISIS element was armed with various weapons